And in the budget, you identify how it's intended to be spent.
Correct.
Did any of those documents provide for spending money on swag?
No.
Did any of those documents provide for spending money on computers or other equipment?
No, sir.
Did any of those documents or budgets provide for money to be spent for travel?
No.
Okay. And how about on the junior DA grant? I think we called that the JAG grant. Were you continuing to administer that in March of 2021?
Yes.
And did you notice or detect or hear about any intention?
Human resources, excuse me. So the HR personnel in the DA's office, her name is Kyra Banks. I reached out to her on July 7th of 2021, and we met on July 20th. And I basically told her all of my concerns, and she said she took notes and told me that she would escalate my matter. On July 23rd,
Escalate, in your view, means take it up the ladder to
Yes.
a higher, somebody above Mr. Cuffey.
Absolutely.
Okay.
On July 23rd, there was additional retaliation, and I reached, it was just so much. I was extremely anxious, even coming to work, because I just didn't know from day to day what type of retaliation I would receive. On July 26th, I reached out to Dexter Bond, who is the chief of staff in the DA's office.
Staff to Ms. Willis?
Yes.
Okay.
And I reached out to Dexter because we worked in the previous administration together. He knew my work ethic, and I just felt like I needed somebody in the office to understand and know what was going on.
What was his role with Paul Howard?
He, under Paul, I think he wasn't chief of staff. I think he was I can't remember his exact role, if I'm being honest, but he was a...
So this is Amanda Timpson testifying today before Georgia's Senate committee about the misappropriation of government funds by DA Fani Willis. Amanda Timpson wrote a grant for the gang division for a little under $500,000. The grant was approved and issued by two government under the assumption that Amanda Timpson was going to be the director of this grant, and she was in charge of using the funds as what was stated in the outline of the request.
He had worked in higher levels of administration for DA Paul Howard as well.
Yes,
before.
and I believe he worked with Paul Howard for like 7 years. So he...
Okay. So you reached out to him
Yes.
directly. All right, tell us about that.
And I told him there were youth in the junior DA program from out of the area. I told him how he treated me. I told him about the PDP. I told him about the OJJDP funds, and I sent him a copy of the PDP, and I told him specifically in a text. Well, I spoke to him in person, and then I sent him a picture of this professional development plan, and I said to him specifically that at this point in time, like, he's putting you guys in a situation where I have multiple potential lawsuits because of how he's treating me, and I said I need to speak with Ms. Willis because I don't believe she knows. That was, I believe, at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then about 5, he responded back to the PDP by saying,
She is explaining the steps she took once she saw the DA's office misusing the grant funds.
He's saying you have a meeting with the DA at 3 p.m.
This is in July of 21 sometime.
Yes, this is July 26th of 2021. And so immediately, you know, I felt like a weight was lifted. Finally, I'll get to let her know, because I felt like I was trying to, in part, protect her, protect the youth of Fulton County, and just protect the integrity of these grants. And so ultimately at 3 p.m. I went to Miss Willis's office. Judging by Dexter was in this meeting, I could tell that she was already kind of briefed. And I went to, she said something to the effect of, now what's going on? So I went to speak and tell her, I said, I'm concerned about the way the grants, and I think I said something else, and she cut me right off in the middle of my sentence and said, effective immediately, you're going to be moved, and demoted me to the role of file clerk. So immediately,
You went from a department head to a file clerk.
Correct, a program head. So I went from the director of juvenile diversion to a file clerk, which changed not only the function of my job, it changed my schedule, changed my location, it changed, this is frivolous, but I was taken off the website. I was essentially like banished for what I saw to be protecting her at the time.
Did she say why you were being demoted?
No, not at that time. The meeting lasted maybe 2 to 5 minutes because she cut me off immediately and told me I was demoted. So I was kind of left flabbergasted. And I reached back to her that evening via email just to get some clarity. And that was the first time I ever heard that she was saying that she wasn't pleased with my work. And it's important to note, I don't want to get too far in the weeds, I feel like we're already there, but it's important to note that 3 weeks prior to this, she had just asked me to assist in another department. So 3 weeks before, she wasn't dissatisfied with my work. So it was shocking to me that suddenly she was dissatisfied with my work the day that I disclosed that I was concerned about the way these funds were being spent.